What is going on, Prosperity Practice? How are you doing? Keep seeing a lot of people talk about being in uncertain times, and I think that's kind of every day, isn't it? How's that any different than anything that you've ever really lived through? You're just doing it in a different way. You're living in a different way, and it's a little uncertain in a different way. In the book, The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles talks often about doing things in a certain way, right? Doing it with certainty. Just because we think of right now as being uncertain, it doesn't mean that you can't do things in a certain way. And you'll read books, I'm trying to think of some of them off the top of my head, but they always talk about how you see two people going in doing the same job, and you see one, and they're doing it with all the same things, right? One guy's got the same education, they've got the same education, they got hired at the same time, they do just as well, say numerically, and all these other things, but one still ends up doing better than the other. And part of the reason for that is that he has found that you can do things in a certain way. He has found that you don't have to do the same things the same way all the time. And I'm sure that most of you know already that if you keep doing things the same way, you're going to get the same results. I made a post earlier this week that said, you don't change what you do, you change how you do it. You change how you do it. And how do you do it? It doesn't really matter how you do it right now, because if what you do right now isn't giving you, if what you do the way you do it right now isn't giving you the results that you want, if they aren't giving you satisfaction, if you aren't finding any joy in them, if you aren't finding any bliss or fine emotional tenor in it, then you've got to wonder, why is that? Why is that? And listen, I've been in plenty of places, I've had plenty of jobs where I'm just like, this is beneath me. Dishwashing, right? Busboy, waiting tables, bartending on a night where it's crappy. You finding myself, and I think I had a revelation. Finding yourself where you're working at an office job, and a lot of you, at some point you start to think, hey man, all I do here is punch keys. All I do here is punch keys on the keyboard, answer the phones, and oh my gosh, life could be so much more. Sure. Hey, I'll agree with that. I've certainly been there, and I've certainly gone through it. And it took me a while to understand a few things, and there's many different applications to what I'm about to say here. But one of them is, when you do things in a certain way, you do them with certainty that you know that what you're doing is kind of like a means to an end, right? It's very similar to what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Well, when you're doing something in a certain way with certainty, then you know that you can't fail. And when you know that you can't fail, and when you are filled with certainty, it frees up your mind. It really frees up your mind. It frees up your mind to know that what you need is going to come when you need it. And that's because you're going to be aware of it. If you're not doing something with certainty, if you're not doing something that you're doing and you know you can't fail, then there's some doubty Mustafa in there, right? There's some doubt deep inside of you. There's some fear. You're not riding with the king, as BB would say. You're kind of out there and you're all alone, and you think that you think that there's a chance that this might not work out, right? There's a chance that this, whatever this is, might not work out for you, and somehow it just goes awry. It doesn't work out for you. And for all the law of attraction people out there, for all you people out there, if that's all part of this, right? If you're thinking something's going to go wrong, it really is kind of it's going to go wrong. If you can't release in your mind and the way that you're thinking that something's going to go wrong, that you're not doing it in a certain way, then there's a good chance that it is going to go awry. So that's one way, right? Doing it with certainty, doing it with like this unfettered faith that what you're doing is the right thing and it's going to work out somehow, right? You're doing it all, so you're playing to win, and you're playing to win. You're not playing not to lose, right? Because again, when you're focused on not losing, you're still focused on losing. So the emphasis is on losing and not winning. Even though the results are theoretically the same, the way you go about it and the thought process is how do I get this ball to the end zone? If we're playing football, how do I get this ball into the goal? If it's soccer or basketball, versus how do I keep them from scoring, right? Because in your mind, all you do is you see them scoring. You see yourself missing a block, or you go through all the ways that you can keep them from scoring and achieving their goals versus you achieving your goals. And that's kind of the second part of this, right? Setting goals. Just deciding to create little stopgaps and points, right? Treating your life like it's a game. We see people gamifying the workplace, and when it's gamified by the workplace, it sucks. But when it's gamified by you, it's awesome. So what does a game have in it that you could implement in your daily life and into the job that you currently, maybe you don't like it so much, but what could you do to set little goals? Maybe you do something and it's repetitive. Maybe you I think of just assembly lines. Maybe you're working on the assembly line and you need your average is 45 assemblies in a day of maybe a circuit board. And the little game you can play with yourself is like, what if I what's my peak output? Go for your best. Go for your best. What is that in a day? Maybe you hit 50. Maybe you shaved off XYZ number of seconds on it every day. And you find little ways that you can add improvement, to stretch yourself, to challenge yourself, that it has these immediate results for you. At the end of the day, you see that you stretched to 50. Then tomorrow, maybe you'll do 52, and you figure out what your average is. You increase your average. And you figure out little things that you can do to get this feedback for yourself, and these little challenges and goals that you set for yourself, for you. And you do these things, and this is another thing from Wallace D. Wattles, do all things in a great way. Do all things in a great way. Be entirely present. And so when you've gamified it for yourself, then you've created a system for yourself. You've created something that you enjoy. Now somebody else creates the game for you. You're like, this game sucks. I hate the rules. So it's really important for you to create the game for yourself. And the other way to look at it too, so maybe goals aren't your thing. Maybe gamifying it isn't your thing. But maybe you've realized that by now that you are a creator. Or you have created all that you see around you. The work that you do is a creation. And it has an output somewhere. It's going to affect somebody's life, or it's going to go through somebody's hands. The example I'll use is look, I'm working in the gaming industry right now, which, funny enough, we're talking about gamifying something. And I work with helping getting networks set up into place, and I help with the gaming stations, for the rendering farms, for the computers, and getting that equipment out there. So I know that if What I'm creating is the ability for someone else to create moments. What I'm doing is setting up moments where and being able to get out there. My end goal is to help create networks that are gonna eliminate latency or eliminate lag in a game, and somebody's gonna have an awesome win at the end of that day, right? I'm gonna be a part of that, and so while. Am I making a living, making money? Sure, but at the end of the day, I'm also creating these special moments for other people. They may not know me at the end of the day. We may never meet, and that's okay. We don't need to meet in order for me to know that I'm doing my best in this situation, and that's kind of the outcome I have in mind. And if I'm doing my best, and if I'm putting that forward, if I'm creating these moments, if I'm creating this whole scene in my mind, I am a creator. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is because that's what I see. That's another one from Wallace D. Wattles as well. See what you want to see. Don't see what, if somebody comes up to you and is trying to mess with the mix, don't see that. Don't see that. See what you need to see. See what you need to see. So a big part of this whole thing is you have 100% ownership of how you perceive and achieve your life. How you perceive your life, what you give to it, and how that turns out. And so that's what I mean by you don't change what you do, you change how you do it. You change the approach, the attitude, the feeling that you go into that. And you may not always be washing dishes. You may not always just be hitting the keys. You may not always just be driving. There's something else in that beyond yourself. And when you see beyond you and you incorporate this awesome vision of what your life is and just exactly what it is you're touching on, what it is you're creating, the game that you've made for yourself, stretching yourself and having like these kind of tangible end goals and results, then you've changed. You've changed how you do things. You're doing the same thing. People are going to see you performing the same job, but they're not going to know that inside of you, you've changed. The entire process has been evolved. You've evolved. And I think that's a lot of fun. So, hey, hope you're enjoying this one. Always, feel free to touch base with me. Let me know how you're doing. Reach out to me at Brandon at prosperity-practice.com. And stay tuned. I think I have a couple interviews coming up here not too long from now. Also, if you got somebody that you think's worth interviewing, let me know. I'm always looking for somebody that I think would be a good fit for this show. All right, guys, take it easy.